So Charlotte, how did you get involved in the film, 45 years?
Well, you know, as it usually sort of happens, you get a screenplay from time to time, not very often, where you read it and you say that this is something extraordinary, you know, and very exciting. And then you ask about the director, and he sent his DVD. The director is Andrew Haigh. He's a young director, 42. And he made one film before called Weekend, which was, again, about relationships, because this 45 years is very much about a relationship that's gone on for 45 years. So he was just very clever at bringing the magic of a relationship out, the magic and the tragedy.
Yes, the magic and the tragedy, the mysteries of life.
Yeah, yeah, and in a very haunting way. Like, you don't quite know why you're being brought into this film, because you get more and more intimately involved in this couple who are living in this house, and something happens to make this relationship start to tremble.
Yes.
And the foundations begin to tremble, and everything begins to tremble, and there's a kind of an out of control feeling that starts, which is what happens.
How long did it take to shoot a film?
6 weeks. Yeah.
6 weeks, all in the same location?
Yes, that's what was good, and we did it also in sequence. We started from the beginning, because we were in the same house. We were in this cottage in Norfolk, and it was a small crew, so it was very intimate, so we could take a lot of time actually exploring these characters and exploring what we wanted to do with them. And we started, and the end, the last scene in the film was
the big party.
The big party, and where something quite powerful happens, was the last scene.
It's very helpful to work in sequence.
Very.
Because it's almost like a play. So you can really develop your character and your emotion. Sometimes when you, especially on very delicate feelings, like in 45 years, it's hard to, when you fragment it so much and you have to play, you know, in a film sometimes they make you play the end and then the middle and then the beginning. Yeah? And when you play a subtle thing, it must be very helpful to do it in...
It's quite unique, really. I don't know whether you've ever done this, because I know that obviously the production of a film is extraordinarily difficult to be able to do something in sequence.
In sequence, yeah.
Because we're filming all over in different places. But I think the subtlety, as you say, of the subject is allowed to really to grow and really to become more and more real, actually, and less factice, because you know we have to do tricks of our trade to make believe certain things when they're really sort of not happening, and we have to bring them up.
Yeah.
Whereas this it's very organic.
It became organic.
Yeah.
We recycle.
Do we?
Yeah, well, I try to anyway.
Well, we should.
Well, you're more than welcome to clean out the dog cans and put them in the right bins.
Because these glaciers, they're melting a lot more than people imagined. The water is just not coming down.
It's got to go somewhere.
And it's saturating into the rock beneath and just building up and up and up. Like
a dam.
Like a dam, yeah, as if it's waiting, and then...
Oh,
No warning. Come down like a tsunami. Wipe out everything in its path. Schools, churches, people in cafes drinking their coffee. Old men in shops tinkering with their cuckoo clocks. And if they hadn't found her, that's when she'd come down. With all the rock and debris. We'd be long dead by then.
So, Isabella, what have you got on your menu?
So I didn't get the script.
You didn't get the script.
I got
David
a
Russell
phone
doesn't
call
like
from David
to
Russell,
right.
crazy
Yeah.
David Russell, in a taxi cab on and he was telling me the story, and I was in a taxi and it was the first time I never did FaceTime, whatever it's called on your iPhone, so this appeared David, and then I met him a few days later to do a test or just to meet me, and he said he was going to take an hour. Instead, we hang out together 8 hours, and David has his own way of working. I understood, though, right away that hanging out was the way to get to know each other. It's hard to, in half an hour of formality, but if you say to a person, can you wait? Then you see how available they are. Do they cancel the other appointment? Are they available? Do they get nervous? So I think a lot of it was, I understood
and he can watch you then, you see.
And he can watch
He can watch all the things that are happening, you know, and all the things that you don't really know you're even doing that he's catching and liking and wanting, yeah.
And I absolutely didn't know what my character was, so he was explaining me this story of this saga of this young woman. The story covers 35 years of her life, and she becomes a big matriarch, and the evolution of this woman. So, but you know, I hardly understood it because, of course, it was a big saga. And then he disappeared. Then I left, and then I haven't heard anything for a month. And then I was in Paris in the theater, and I received a phone call again at 2 o'clock in the morning. It was David, who said, "Can you come for a costume fitting?" I said, "David? Hey, who David? David O. Russell? Oh, David O. Russell. You're calling me back 6 weeks after? I didn't even know I had got the part." He said, "Yes, you got the part. Come for a costume fitting." I said, "I'm in Paris." He says, "Can you cancel the theater?" "No, David, I can't cancel the theater." But so
I love it.
2 weeks later, I was in Boston shooting.
I love it. I love it. That's a gorgeous way to actually to work. And I think
Yes, and I read the script
one of the gorgeous
all together
Yeah,
with,
yeah.
of course I wanted to work with him, and I knew, you know,
Yeah.
it was Jennifer Lawrence and Robert De Niro and Bradley Cooper. How can you don't say no, you just say it's so fantastic to be able to share 3 months with these great talents. So, but I didn't know.
But really not really knowing what you were going to be up to.
No, I didn't know it. It was an adventure.
I love it. It's perfect.
It was wrong of us to think that you be an instant business person overnight. Of course, this is not who you are.
It takes a kind of toughness, a certain acumen that you simply don't have. Sign the paper.
Is it important to you, the director? I bet it is.
There's a very wonderful type of relationship that starts to evolve because it's about two people wanting to be with each other, to work with each other, to create with each other, and therefore to be completely free with each other. No strings attached necessarily elsewhere, but just a purely creative relationship. And this is very exciting. This is, I think, the most exciting part of my being in films is meeting these people and then working with them like that. Yeah.
For me too, it's very important, the director. But of course, sometimes you see immense talent, and then when you meet them, they intimidate you. You know, it's always wonderful when a director is benevolent and he creates an atmosphere of friendship. Then you feel safe to open, to experiment. And if you do a mistake, it doesn't matter, you do it again.
But I think sometimes it's for us to seek that out, don't you think? Because they're often quite shy directors. They're not necessarily great human communicators.
Oh yeah, some of them are articulated, some of them are not.
You know, you would sort of think they would be, but then, you know, they can be a great director. They can actually have difficulty communicating or getting through to their actors. They're shy.
Yeah.
So I've always thought that it's, you know, that also is part of the work, to be able to sort of somehow to infiltrate into their world, to make them feel that they're safe with with
absolutely.
us.
Yeah, I've learned that.
So they're
with
not
time,
intimidated
yes.
or shy.
Yeah, I've learned that with time. At the beginning, I thought they were the boss, and they were
And
not intimidated. They were
it
always
it was the daddy
strong
figure.
and-
Yeah, it was
and
the sort
then-
of the father figure.
Yes, a father figure. Then I understood that they are also walking on thin ice. So you have to be.
You have to join them on that
we
thin ice.
We have to
actually.
join them on a thin ice. Yes.
Well, Isabella, coming from the family that you come from, you know, you sort of say, do I, don't I, will
Don't I? Yes.
won't
I was no, I'm not going to be an actress.
Yeah.
My mom, of course, is Ingrid Bergman. So my dad is Roberto Rossellini. Both, you know, were so established in the film world. So I worked when I was 14, 15, 16, the summer jobs were always on my father's set. And I helped mostly in the costume department. So I studied to become a costume designer. Then I ended up in fashion for many years as a model. I became an actress only in my 30s. And it was really thanks to modeling more than my mom. My mom was intimidating to follow on her footstep because she was such an established actress. But it was modeling that sometimes people came and offered me a job as an actress, and I would say no. And Mama will always say to me, "Oh, it's so silly of you not to take the adventure, not to try once, just because you're, afraid of the comparison. Who cares? Just take the adventure. And so then my mom unfortunately died when I was relatively young, but the word stayed with me. And with modeling, there do come some offers of cinema, because cinema too likes beautiful girls. So I thought, you know, it's a natural way to evolve for a model, to evolve a career. I do come from a family of actors and directors, so let me try. So it's never been a dream that I fought for. Like, was it like this for you?
No,
When did
not
you know?
really. I was sort of chosen, and I thought, and then they said that I was sort of quite good, and so off I went in a way. And
Yes.
so I learned as I went along. I taught myself as I went along. Yeah,
Did you model
Yeah.
too?
tiny bit, very, very tiny, tiny, tiny.
I think the audience always gives us, because we are the one on screen, they expect us to have an incredible power, but instead we are chosen, aren't we? We're always waiting
Yeah.
for the director or the producer, the studio to make the final
unless
decision.
you're very enterprising and you have quite, you have a quite good self-confidence in place, and you sort of build up your own production companies and find people and and
Yes.
sort of chase after people to work with you. But that's quite difficult to do.
Very difficult to do.
Difficult to do. to
Very
sort of
and
say,
it's
"Look,
a whole work on itself.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's another ball game. as
Yeah,
they
it's another
say,
ball
yeah.
game. Yeah, no, it's.
But
yes.
if not, when I started out, because it was the 60s in London, a lot of us were sort of, going around prettily in our mini skirts down the King's Road, doing this, that, and the other, and somebody spotted me in the rather sort of classic way, you say, picked up off the streets, in a way, in a particular way.
And then you fell in love with it. Was it intimidating too, or because there
No,
is so
because
much-
I just did it really naturally. It just sort of it was something that I could do. And I thought, oh, and everyone was saying, oh, you do that well. And I said, yeah, I suppose I can do this then. Well, I might as well keep on trying. And then other things came in, and so you learn as you go along. You learn I haven't really studied. I studied a bit at the Royal Court Theatre to find out a little bit what you do when you study acting.
Yes.
But very quickly I went on and got other jobs, and
Yes.
and I learnt how to do it, and I also wanted to, in a way, learn. I was, quite a sort of proud girl, and I wanted it to be my way of doing it,
Yes. Yeah.
rather than having to follow
I
a
went
code.
Yes, I did some acting classes, and some of them were very helpful. But I think you learn more by doing it.
I think that screen acting is about just believing very deeply what you're doing and who you're vehicling with this character, because it's yourself that's going through your character. Of course, you've got your own feelings being vehicled by somebody who's just not really you, but is quite obviously close to you.
Of course.
But let's be honest. And it's about developing that, that particular technique of how you get that across, how you get the secret of what you got inside you out there.
And it helps, to me, it helped doing film after film after film to be more open,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
exactly.
It helps. At the beginning, there are moments that you're shy. You say, I don't want to show that part. And then you know that humanity is a common denominator, and if you can really open it all completely, people recognize it.
Yeah. And also, nothing very bad happens when you do that. On the contrary,
Yeah.
it's a form of liberation too.
Yeah.
And it's a form of real connection, because when an audience actually really does love what you're doing in a performance and love the character that you're playing and really feel that, you feel that you've given of yourself for a very good reason.
Yes.
For something that is, ultimately extraordinarily creative and giving and good. It's a good moment for you. I mean, there's all ages in cinema at the moment.
At the moment,
Don't
yes.
you think, in
more
good roles?
more so
Yeah.
than it used to be. I think the conversation started a couple of years ago. More open.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely more open.
Just allowing, a different form of dialogue, because the youth dialogue is beautiful, and obviously camera loves young people, and that's absolutely understandable. But there is another dialogue that goes on as you get older, which is really, really interesting, and there are a lot of older people around who would like to hear that too.
Yes.
I mean, I certainly know with 45 years that the feedback I'm getting is that it's not, the film is not about age at all, but it's about that the couple happen to be older, but it's still just about people.
It's just still about people.
It's just
Yeah.
about relationships.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just about actually, how you how you go along, you know, trying to stay alive.
And that story cannot be told if you're young, because of course it's all about intimacy in 45 years and then discovering something that it is. You say, well, who have I lived with? You know, how is this big secret?
I agree that you need that because it is about 45 years, but if you think about the story, it's about relationships.
It's about relationships,
so if
absolutely.
you have a 10-year relation, 20, 30, 40, whatever,
Yeah.
you are, the connection that you have within a relationship is what the story is about. What goes on in a relationship and how can a relationship that seems to be perfectly fine suddenly come under such a threat for something so mysterious.
I agree with you that there are many stories to be told, and the youth story is very interesting. But there are other. I don't know the audience. You know, we were always told that the people that go to the movies are young boy between 18 and 25. So I don't know. Maybe now the studios have conquered beyond that group, that demographic, and so there is more stories. Of course. We as actors are delighted that they expand the demographic of telling the story, but we have very little to do with how to entice people to come and watch film. Or maybe there is so many ways to see films today, you know, with Netflix and the DVD of cinema.
Yeah, so many different supports.
So maybe that's what.
So many different supports as well. You can have it can be so private as well, looking at films.
Yes, yeah. It's like reading a book. Nowadays, before you always went to the movies with friends nowadays, but you read your book on your own. But now I watch film on my own.
Yeah. I don't know about you, Isabella, but I decided quite early on that Hollywood didn't sort of really suit me because there is different. Obviously, there's much more of a system here.
Yeah.
It's much more obviously money oriented and box office oriented and star oriented, and so there's a lot more conditions here in Hollywood, whereas in Europe you can feel that you have a freedom. It's like it's, you know, get a small group of people together and make your film in a way that's more
right. I agree. I think that maybe because the films are less expensive altogether in Europe, then you can really cater to a niche.
You can,
so if you have 20,000 people that sees your film, that's enough to finance it.
So
well, here you need the millions, and so the film has to have star or action or, and also the marketing device is extraordinarily different. You know, what we're doing today will never be done in Europe or. That to me, I'm full of admiration for America that has a science to marketing, the junkets. I only do them in America. I've never done them in Europe, where you do an interview every, and there's somebody with a chronometer says done 5 minutes or 5 minutes, 1 minute, never happens. And yet when you watch it on television, it helps promote the film. It looks intimate, but that doesn't exist.
No, it's much more of, I mean, it's a big business here.
Yeah.
Whereas in Europe, it's not a big business.
No.
Sometimes it is. And we have all the problem, not the problem, but we have all the question of languages.
Yes, the question of languages is fascinating.
We all speak different languages almost, except for the English that can join the Americans in a way.
Only now, occasionally in European film, you see the way we speak. Of course, now you and I speak only English, because this is for variety, but otherwise, in real life, we would say a word in French, a word in English, we would mix. And that's how Europeans speak. They speak several languages and they mix them all together. That has not filtered yet in films, where you have to commit to a language. And in Europe, there is obviously the problem of languages, and America has a great advantage of having English that is understood by millions.
Yeah. But I've always loved making films in Europe for that reason. There's a kind of adventurousness that, you know, you feel that you can explore territories where you're more, you know, more contained within scripts and budgets and studios and act stars and Winnebagos and all this thing. I've always enjoyed the freedom, the feeling of freedom.
Yes, me too, and also the freedom that if the film doesn't find an audience, nobody goes bankrupt.
No.
Because it's just a small thing. It gives you the freedom to experiment and, you know, to maybe make a mistake or do something that eventually will become interesting. My father did film with my mom that were so unsuccessful at the box office, but in time, they gained such reputation that they're seen more now than when they came out 50 years ago. Yeah, so you never know.
No, so you never know. But luckily there are many different ways of making films,
Yes.
that's it. If there was just
that's the
thing.
best.
If there was
And
just
that
the
I
one
think that
way.
you and I are lucky to be
Yeah.
able to work both in
Yeah.
Europe and in America and have that experience. Yeah, that is really a treasure
Yeah.
for me too.
Did you find anything particularly sort of unexpected in the film
You know,
you've
to
done
me,
that you
every
enjoy?
time you do a film with a new director, it's unexpected because directors direct in different styles, in different ways. And we actor, we have to adapt to their way of directing. And directors, they don't know that. They always ask you, does David Lynch do that? Does Martin Scorsese do that? They don't. You know, each one has his own way. So it's always, and we are master at adapting, isn't it? An actor really
Well,
is,
that's what we have to develop, I
yes,
think.
we have to develop.
We talked
Yes.
about it a little bit before,
Yeah.
how over the years we develop different techniques to make all these different adjustments and ways in to understanding people and ways into actually articulating everything.
Yes.
So that it's all sort of,
Yes.
working away.
Yes.
Thanks for watching Actors on Actors. Click to the left to watch our conversation with Kate Blanchett and Ian McKellen. Click to the right to watch our full conversation with Jennifer Jason Leigh and Seth Rogen. And don't forget to subscribe to Variety's channel.